Good afternoon, everybody. Some familiar faces that we've met before. I'm very happy to be in Albania, Tirana, for the second time in my life. You're never too old to do something new. I love it already, so I'm looking forward to the other times that we come in. And it's still winter, so the summer still needs to come. So it only gets better from here. We're with three people that I briefly introduce before we go into the talk and take you on our journey that we have been traveling over the last 12 to 15 years in Amsterdam, connecting universities to the local ecosystem. Mirjam Leloux in the middle. She's the director of the University of Amsterdam Knowledge Transfer Office. So she is very engaged and involved in bringing science to the market and bringing the market to science and everything in between, working with all the researchers in the university in commercializing the output of research and everything that's around. She will talk about that later and the journey that she made with her knowledge transfer office over the last years. The other colleague is Arjan Goudsblom, who came to us a year ago and is our lead for international projects, but also very experienced in corporate startup innovation and cooperation. He has been doing that for many years in Sydney with a renowned incubator in Australia, is now back in the Netherlands and helping us to stimulate and bring about startup corporate innovation. So that's us, three experts, and we're very happy and proud that we were selected by Jacqueline and her team to come here and talk to the Albanian Tirana universities and see how we can help them. And that's the journey we're going to make in the future. But let me start with the journey that we have been making over the last 12 to 15 years. And hopefully that journey will be also some inspiration for you, and some of the lessons that we have learned could be of use for you. We divided our talk in 4 blocks. I'll start with a small introduction about the Entrepreneurial University and some ideas about it and why this entrepreneurship and innovation is so important in the university nowadays. So why should we do this at all? Secondly, I'll take you on my journey in creating entrepreneurship education and startup incubation in the universities in Amsterdam over the last 12 years. And Mirjam will take you in the journey on knowledge transfer from the University of Amsterdam. And last but not least, Arjan will give you a sneak preview in the masterclasses and the trajectory that we're going to offer in the coming months here in Tirana for the universities that we have met over the last days during our visits. Let me start with this. Universities are changing. Universities are changing for many reasons. New funding models. We cannot rely completely on the government and the public funding anymore. Universities are changing because the labor market is changing. The demands that the market and the companies and the organizations ask from our students is changing. Employability, entrepreneurial attitude, entrepreneurial mindset is becoming more and more important. We're in the middle of a digital revolution. Look around you, look at the startups, but look also in our daily life. We cannot live without a smartphone anymore. And 10 years ago, it was completely different, and this digital revolution will continue. We're in the middle of a revolution. Internationalization, globalization is important. Your students, our students go all over the world, and they come back. 50% of our student population in Amsterdam, and in some degree course even more, is from abroad. The battle for talent is international. It's not local anymore. It's something we have to face. There are new modes of engagement with stakeholders and local regional environments. Many more public-private projects come up within the university, and the university will also have to adapt and find new ways of governance to deal with that. The general public is asking more and more from us, universities, to measure our impact. Do we deliver value for money? What is the impact of the university teaching and research for society? And last but not least, the contributions to economic and societal growth from universities is also under debate. One of the responses to that is becoming an entrepreneurial university. And what is an entrepreneurial university? I quote one of the researchers, Gibb, who is from Higher Education Innovate. They have developed a very interesting tool in assessing and creating an entrepreneurship strategy for universities, and we'll come back to that and go more in depth in that High A Innovate method in the masterclasses. It's a very interesting way of assessing universities and seeing how you can create an entrepreneurial strategy for your university. David Aldrich, a famous researcher in entrepreneurship, goes even further. He says we are beyond the stage of entrepreneurial university. We are an entrepreneurial society, and the university is just part of that society and has to respond to its surrounding much more actively and much more proactively than before. We're not isolated as an entrepreneurial institutions from the surrounding. We are part of an entrepreneurial society. Daniel Eisenberg from Babson College, one of the most famous universities in the world when it comes to entrepreneurship teaching. For those who are interested and don't know yet, go to Babson College and look at what they do. For years, they're already #1 in entrepreneurship education. And Daniel Eisenberg introduced already some time ago the idea of the entrepreneurship ecosystem. And that's also what we talked about, what Jacqueline talked about. The entrepreneurship ecosystem is just not someone or something that is triggering economic growth and cooperation in the ecosystem, but it's a lot of players from different perspectives and different angles that together contribute to a vibrant ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem, and universities play a vital part there. An entrepreneurial ecosystem cannot exist without active universities. They are the main source of talent, of human capital, bringing into the ecosystem. And the whole idea of a vibrant entrepreneurship ecosystem is that we do not fight about the cake, but we grow the cake so that we all have a bigger piece. Also in that we go more in depth into the masterclass. And then the very interesting question about nature and nurture that always comes up in entrepreneurship teaching. Does it make sense to teach entrepreneurship? Because you are an entrepreneur or you're not. You're born like an entrepreneur, you cannot learn. So education only spoils entrepreneurial competences of students. And the same you can apply to entrepreneurship ecosystem. Why do we have a couple of very good entrepreneurship ecosystems in the world and why others are not? Can you make them? And Daniel Eisenberg says, yes, you can make them, but not by law. It's a sort of intelligent design. The word serendipity applies to it as well. If you do think smart, if you think about it, if you have a strategy and you implement that strategy in a clever way, every city, every place in the world can have its own mark as an entrepreneurship ecosystem. Also Amsterdam, also Tirana. But you have to work together and you have to do it smart. In the European Union, there is an interesting initiative creating ecosystems around university, which is the EIT. I won't go in detail here, but we'll certainly use that as a case study in our masterclasses. And EIT is a very interesting example of how, at a European scale, universities can work together in creating a more vibrant innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem, from student to entrepreneur, from lab to consumer, and ID to product. Another case study that will go in more in depth in our masterclasses is the Startup Amsterdam. We as universities also became, I think 5-6 years ago, when the vice mayor of Amsterdam said we want to be a very good startup ecosystem as the city of Amsterdam because it's good for the future, it's good for the city and the economy, for jobs and economic growth. She started this Startup Amsterdam program where all the players in the ecosystem were brought together and each of them contributed to this program, Startup Amsterdam, and it was really very successful. And it was successful because you can see it here. There is a global ranking done by Genome, a consultancy organization that every year publishes the best ecosystems in the world. Of course, San Francisco is #1, New York #2, and you can also see the European cities. And 3 years ago, Amsterdam came into the top 20. And last year, 2019, it was the fastest riser, so we're on number 15. And the message I want to bring over here is not to boast that Amsterdam is rising so fast, but that with a smart, intelligent design and working together and creating a vibrant ecosystem, you can get in the top 20, even if you're a small city. We're 1 million people. Tirana is also not the biggest city in the world, but if you have a smart design and you have all ingredients in place, you can get in the top 20 global ranking ecosystem. So maybe that's a nice target for 2025 for Tirana to be on this list as well. So that's part one of what I wanted to share with you. And once again, we'll go more in depth into the master classes that Arjan will explain later. This is my personal journey, the second part of my presentation. It's about teaching entrepreneurship. In 2006, together with a professor of entrepreneurship at the University of Amsterdam, which was actually the first chair in entrepreneurship ever in the university. There was in the business school at that time no chair in entrepreneurship. Strange to think about that today, that it was not done to have chairs in entrepreneurship at that time. She was the first one, and together we started the Amsterdam Centre for Entrepreneurship. She did that with a research perspective. She wanted to do all sorts of research in entrepreneurship, and I took up the journey on entrepreneurship education, and we started to create courses for students from the business school, but from the university as a whole, from the other faculty, for the other faculties as well, where students could learn about entrepreneurship, not by reading a book about it, but by doing things and getting into action and execute companies, learning by doing. And that's for me what entrepreneurship education is about. It's learning by doing. Why did we do this? Why did we start this center? Well, first of all, entrepreneurs and innovators are drivers of economic growth and job creation. So the innovation, the new jobs, the growth of the economy comes from new entrepreneurs, especially when they start scalable business. At the same time, certainly at that point in time, entrepreneurship was hardly part of the mindset of students. It was not a career option that they were interested in. The percentage was low. If you would ask in a classroom who is interested in entrepreneurship, very few hands would rise. And we thought, for a number of reasons, that students should not only learn more about becoming entrepreneurial, and not only, certainly in the university, not only come up with ideas, and the greatest ideas, but also learn to execute them. Because as one of the big entrepreneurs in the city of Amsterdam once said, you can dump the canals, we have a lot of canals in Amsterdam, with ideas. But it's all about execution, and students should and can learn about it. So developing their entrepreneurial skills and getting more students into becoming entrepreneurs. Because at the same time, it's also a numbers game. The more students are interested in setting up companies, the more students create companies, the more students will probably fail with these companies, but the more students will also succeed with these companies. It's a numbers game as well. Some people said entrepreneurs don't need education. Successful entrepreneurs are usually not educated people. Successful entrepreneurs have primary school, secondary school, and that's it, because it's the nature-nurture question, can you learn it? Well, we did a research, and I'm not sure, of course, how it's in Albania, but in the Netherlands, of the 200 most successful entrepreneurs, 62% have a university degree, and most of them in economics, management, law, and in sciences. So it's not true, it's a myth if people tell you that higher education does not matter for entrepreneurs to start and grow their business. Analytical skills, social network, and human capital is nowadays more and more important for entrepreneurs to start and succeed. So universities definitely can make a difference there for the economy as a whole. We developed this model. And again, this is not higher mathematics. It's a simple model. But we said we should first start, we have 100,000 students in Amsterdam, in the different universities, in all the different subject areas. We should first start with inspiring these students and getting them acquainted with entrepreneurship one way or the other. Then probably not all of them are interested. Not all of them need to be interested. But some are, and for these students we offer educational programs. As a part of their curriculum, they can earn credits by setting up companies. And at the third level, at the high peak of the pyramid, we have our startup incubator where students launch and grow companies. So what did we do? What did we do in step one? We did a lot of things. In step 1, what we did, give you a few examples of activities that we employed there. Like I said, 100,000 students. All of them should consider importance of entrepreneurial mindset. And mind you, we didn't reach all 100,000, even today. But that's our goal. That's what we want to do. First thing we did, we created a body of students that we called A students. And these students got a little bit of money, not even so much. And they were allowed to organize their own activities. Students organizing activities for students with a little bit of budget for them. So they started with cafes. Inviting entrepreneurs in a cafe in the evening, inviting students to come and listen to the talks of entrepreneurs. Often alumni or entrepreneurs from the city of Amsterdam. They were very nice events, low budget, and students got acquainted with entrepreneurs. At the same time, they organized a little bit bigger event, a yearly competition of the best student entrepreneur in the city. And I've seen over the years this competition, I've seen these student entrepreneurs pitching, and nowadays, a couple of them are just big companies. A couple of them are big companies. So that's what they did as well, sourcing student entrepreneurs, inspiring them, organizing cafes, and once a year, one of the student entrepreneurs was chosen to be the Student Entrepreneur of the Year. We invited all student associations, existing student associations in the city, to team up with us and organize startup battles, startup competitions, startup battles. They could forward ideas. We provided workshops. For them and some contests, and they could win a little bit of money, and they could learn how to execute their idea into a company. Well, many other things we did, and very proud that in 2011 the European Union awarded us the European Enterprise Award for Best Initiative in the EU regarding inspiration of students, and we were the first Dutch organization to win that prize. What it is today? Today, all these activities in the inspiration, in my view, sort of culminated in a student investment fund. So the ecosystem has matured in such a way over the last 10 years that business angels in the city allocated money in a fund, not even so much, but considerable, and they said, we would like to invite students to run an investment fund with our money, and we coach them, and they can source and look for a student startup and invest in them. Not huge ticket, but still, 25,000 euro for a student startup is a considerable sum, and it can be their first investment that they can use later on. So what it is today? What have we achieved in time? When we started, 7% of the students said, I want to be an entrepreneur. In the recent review, we will do one in 2020, in 2020 again, in 2020, in 2018, it was 20% of the students said, I want to be an entrepreneur. That's the impact that we created, and it should never be 100%, it will never be 100%, but 25–30% would be nice, I would say. 1 out of 3 students say, I want to be an entrepreneur. So that's what we did. Step 2, education. We organized a lot of programs there, from undergraduate minors to joint masters, summer schools, etc. Once again, especially the minor program, which is a really very interesting program, we'll use as a case study in the masterclasses and go more in depth there and take you on a journey that this program has taken. Last, the launch and grow part. We started a startup incubator. We did a lot of pilots and programs, and we went to the science park, where the Amsterdam Science faculty is, and there we now have a incubator spot for startups, especially focused on tech and science. We were called the best one in the Netherlands in 2018. We've done 150 tech startups so far, and we're a private company today. So started in the business school. Today we're a private company. The universities are my shareholders. I have 5 universities, 2 medical hospitals, 3 universities who are my shareholders. We have our own business model, and we run this program for the universities, but as a company ourselves, like I say, practice what you preach. We offer a number of programs. I won't go more on it. This is our location. We create a location with sea containers where we have 400 seats for 35 companies, a cafe and a venture studio where we can have events and also organize all sorts of external people. I won't go into detail there because I'll have a time schedule. This is also very interesting. Once again, won't go into detail, but that's also coming back in the master classes. There is the UBI. It's a global benchmark for university incubators, UBI, University Business Incubators. They benchmark, and you see here the framework, university incubators worldwide. Very interesting for Albanian incubators or the ones that have some track record already to start and join this benchmark. We joined it. We're above a global average, and our aim is to become in the top 10%. We're very close, but it will take a few years. And then my last slide, and then I'll hand over the clicker to Mirjam, is our lessons learned, because I think that's maybe the most important for you to share now. It takes 3 T's to build an entrepreneurship ecosystem. T, you have to meet people, you have to drink tea with people, you have to be patient with them, they have to trust you, you have to trust them, and it takes time. So time, trust, and T are very important elements of building a ecosystem. It's about learning by doing curricula, not reading books about it, but learning and executing by doing. You need a landmark. Our startup village really helped us to create visibility. People see us, everybody knows what it is, and it's not hidden somewhere in a building or on campus or on a place that people cannot relate to. And my last lesson learned before I hand over to Mirjam is, for an entrepreneurship center and a startup incubator, the strength of what you do is dependent on the power of your network. The people that you know, the people that spend time on you, the mentors, the investors, the corporate innovators, the service providers, the lawyers, the accountants, everybody that wants to help you, the better that network is, the better your entrepreneurship program and your startup incubator will be. So for a university, the mission there is go out, connect them to what you do, work together, and the better your network is, the better your entrepreneurship teaching will be. So that's my journey on entrepreneurship teaching. And let's now move over to another journey in the area of knowledge transfer. And my colleague Mirjam will take you there. Mirjam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Erik. I hope, it works. So my name is Mirjam Leloux. I'm director of the Knowledge Transfer Office of the University of Amsterdam. It's the largest university of the Netherlands, comprehensive university with almost everything you can study there. And also our Knowledge Transfer Office is the largest of the Netherlands, with also very comprehensive, with all different capacities available. But when I started there 5 years ago, and my background, I have about 25 years experience in knowledge transfer, among also about 10 years as an entrepreneur that I did consultancy myself. I did consultancy at almost all universities in the Netherlands, so I know the system. But I'm now here for 5 years, and in that 5 years I was able to double the capacity of this office and also to set up a large program together with the City of Amsterdam and 6 other research universities or research institutes to develop an ecosystem which we call a valorization ecosystem or knowledge transfer ecosystem. You can also call it an entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I will go into that in one of the masterclass subjects. I will say more about this ecosystem. But now I wanted to say something about what is knowledge transfer. And now I have to see which one is it. Is it this one?
Yes, this one.
Okay, because I'm not so good at this. So maybe you know that universities have 3 tasks: research, education, and the other one is knowledge transfer. And in a way, that is because society wants to know all the investments, it's public money, what does it deliver for society, for the normal people there? So in a way, researchers must be aware that what they produce, research result, it has to land somewhere in society, as maybe as articles in newspapers or books, or maybe as spin-offs, or maybe that money is earned by the research by collaborations with public or private institutes, and that it comes back into the research again. But what is knowledge transfer? And this is something about the University of Cambridge, who's very good at it. And they say it's a broad range of activities to support mutually beneficial collaborations between universities, businesses, and the public sector. And of course, you can read this. But what I also think it's important, it's fun to do. It's beautiful to do. I mean, you can do research, you can give education, and it's wonderful to work with young people. But it's also it's just nice, to talk to other parties in the outer world and to understand how they think and to try to give something to them which is beneficial for their businesses, or that they can develop their own opinions. So it's just fun, and it will also enrich yourself. But it all starts with an idea, and this idea that comes from the researcher, and the researcher thinks, well, this is something unexpected. I thought I did research, I did experiments, and then I found something that I didn't believe that it could be there. Well, that is something special, and when you have those kind of ideas, you can protect those ideas. It's, of course, you call it intellectual property then, and it can be new, it can be inventive, and then you can patent it. And I know that in Albania there has not yet been a patent application from any university. That's what I read, and it struck me because it's something that, well, a lot of US universities have, of course, a lot of patents, and some patents are very profitable. But I think that this is a way, why not in Albania? You do research in medicine, you do research in chemistry and agricultural things. Why not having patents? Because you can use them to set up beautiful collaborations with private parties because they want to have something exclusively, and this is some exclusive knowledge. Well, the whole process, it's quite complicated, but it doesn't. It's not something that if you do something in patent you cannot publish anymore or so. You can still be a researcher, but also do things like this and set up collaborations with companies. But if you have this idea and all these companies that Erik mentioned, these 150 tech companies, spin-offs, they started with an idea, but an idea is nothing. An idea, because my father always said, it's not about talent, it's just about sitting there and doing your job. You just have to have the stamina to pursue it and to start every day again by the next step. But this long road you can do it, and then in the end you can develop a profitable business. The whole knowledge transfer process is, of course, very interesting, but also not easy, and it has many steps. So you have, first of all, you have to be aware that you have some idea, that you can develop ideas. You have to be aware of that. Not everybody is that. So we give courses in that at our university. And then you produce a knowledge and you set up relationships. And we also have workshops in our universities where we teach people how to set up those networks and how to collaborate. And we have, of course, legal people that help to make good contracts, that it's also in the interest, that the mutual interest of both university and the private partner is safeguarded. So there's a lot of things I can say about this, but I don't have time. But this is, it's a stepwise process, and you can organize it in a good way. That's what we try to do in Amsterdam also. And if you like to develop all those startups and spin-offs, there are also a lot of steps. My business developers, they help in setting up this process, in which, well, first of all, you have to, what is the idea? You can describe it, you can probably protect it by patenting. Then you have to develop a business plan. Well, I heard a lot of your entrepreneurial courses that you deliver to students, so I'm sure that you are all able to help students and other people to develop those business plans. So I'm sure that you have all the capacity to do this and all the knowledge, but it also has to be done. You have to start at one point and then just do it. When you have this business plan, you have to search for financial support, and then you have to find an infrastructure where you can base your company, where you have a place where you can have the coffee, where you have meeting rooms, and where you can invite all those private parties you would like to work together with, and that can help you developing your business. So what we did in Amsterdam was trying to join the forces of 3 different knowledge transfer organizations. Together we call it IXA, it's a networking organization. And They provide support, knowledge transfer support to about 7,000 scientists. And we all do it for our own institute, but we work together in exchanging best practices and setting up workshops together, having a newsletter together. So in a way, we feel that we share a lot together, but we still do something for our own university. And that feels good, you know, because you belong to a university, you want to do something for that university. But on the other hand, it's nice that you can also share with other professionals in the field the things that you learned. So what are we doing? So we make the research for scientific research available to society. I already told you about intellectual property. We set up joint research programs with other parties. We stimulate entrepreneurship. We help developing the new startups and spin-offs, and then they go to Erik. We have funding possibilities, and we also set up some incubators at the different premises. We have a lot of awareness creation, and we make sure that we don't have problems with legal issues, because we have a lot of lawyers. So we have developed 4 spin-off incubator locations in Amsterdam. We have an annual prize. We do it together with all the other institutes in Amsterdam, research and universities. And every year we have about 150 ideas that can be, well, they can all win the prize, but of course there will be only one winning the prize. But it's very interesting to see what it generates as energy. We have funding also from the City of Amsterdam, so we can fund proof of concept studies. It's not much money every time, but it helps. These are some of the spin-offs, and these lessons are learned. A lot of scientists, they don't like knowledge transfer because they say, well, I would like to do excellent research, or I want to teach. I learned to go with the flow, to go with the people that would like to do it, that have the energy, but try to understand the barriers of people that don't want to do it, and then you can come further. We organized a very transparent knowledge transfer process, so everybody knows what's going on. We have steps, we can explain it. I hired new professionals with right competences, because you need people that really can talk with the scientists, that understand have a scientific background. Not only people that can network, they are also necessary, but you need a mixture of people. And I always gave a lot of attention to the people. That helps, because you try to understand the people. We also invested in financial instruments to to stimulate products to develop. And we have created sufficient spaces for startups, and I can talk about that later. That was my speech.
Thank you very much, both speakers actually, because I know there's those people have so much knowledge in their head, and they've been asked to put everything on the table in a certain time frame, and I know how hard it is, and also they shouldn't have done all of that, because there's an opportunity, and I'm going to talk about that opportunity now, because this is about the Entrepreneurial University Masterclass Series, and I'll let you know a little bit on how things are programmed for the next few months. And also, obviously, for you, the opportunity to come and join, because we really like to work with you. We've been here a number of times, and we've met many of you, and we're really blown away by the enthusiasm that we've met at university, and there's just a lot of potential for progress here. So why the Masterclass Series? As you've heard in the speech from Erik in particular, building connections and building a foundation of activities and working together is incredibly important. So these Masterclass series will give you the opportunity to meet other universities and other teams from other universities and really learn from each other and learn from us. But it will be a two-way street where we really kind of exchange information and build also on a very specific roadmap for each university. That's what we're planning to do. We work according to the pyramid, so you've seen the pyramid where the bottom level is to inspire and activate student populations. but it's also to educate and pursue certain initiatives. And obviously the top level was incubation, where we really try and help students building their own business. And the last bit will be to connect all of that to the wider ecosystem. So it won't be only universities that we'll look at. The third one, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later, is also to connect to the wider ecosystem. So who is this for? Well, it's for you guys. So it is for university teams. We think that it would be good to have a team of 3 for every university to participate. So we'd like you to nominate 3 people that will always be there and be like our talking point and our connection, I guess, throughout the Masterclass series. But you can also bring some additional guests depending on the topic. So I'll talk about the topic a little bit later. And the last Masterclass will involve other parts of the ecosystem as well. So investors, corporates, governments, and other incubator and accelerators as well. So how are we going to do that? So there are 3 masterclasses in February, April, and May. And you will all develop your own plan. So you'll have your university entrepreneurship action plan. We'll create a template for that so you actually know and work on a workbook to kind of create your own plans. You'll be coached by a team of us and potentially some other experts that will come in. And at the end of it, you'll pitch and present your plan to the community, which is going to be us and all of you. And I think as an addition, any successful completion of the course, which means the presentation and the attendance, is eligible for a field trip to the Netherlands. So we'll go out probably just after the summer and we'll welcome you in the Netherlands, the Dutch entrepreneurship ecosystem, and we'll show you around and see what happens. So hopefully most of you will be able to do that. So quickly, I'm not going to talk about it much, but these are the 3 masterclasses. And like I said, it will follow the format of the pyramid. The first one will be about activation and education, the first 2 levels of the pyramid. And we really look at comprehensive structures and programs that need to be in place to really build a foundation for your entrepreneurial activity and education programs for your university. The second one will be, sorry, I'm clicking too fast. It will be about Spinoff creation and incubator infrastructure. So we'll look at the top level of that pyramid, and we will look at the business model of an incubator. We will look at how to fund an incubator like that, but also how to create spaces and create a center of excellence for your incubator. So that will be the focus of that, as well as spin-off creation from potential research that you might have in your programs as well. And the third one will bring everything together. We'll connect you, and we'll have some templates and formats to connect you to the wider ecosystem as well. And we'll learn from, well, again, from Mirjam, who will be here to talk about IXA Next, which is a program that's been developed in Amsterdam. And really we're going to depth of all the little examples you've seen, you've heard from Mirjam and Erik. And then the closing event will be the end of June. And all of the representatives of the ecosystem will be there. You'll pitch to a panel, you have your Entrepreneurial University action plan ready, and you'll do a presentation and a pitch of that. Now, what are the expectations to join? So we do want you, and you've seen and probably get the sense that it's really a working process, right? So there's a lot of input required from you. We're definitely not going to tell you what to do. It will be developing your own plans, university plans, based on the strength and the opportunities that you see for your own university. So we do need some support from either your dean or your vice dean or rector or someone in management that will champion this particular project. So in the application process, you will nominate that person. And you will also submit an overview of the current state of your entrepreneurial activities to date. So that can be a document, and I know a lot of you already have documents available. We've seen them already. So submit those documents and any sort of documentation that's going to help us, I guess, tailoring the course a little bit to your needs. And there needs to be the commitment for the core team to attend every masterclass and also to complete that plan. So we really want you to put you to work and try and work with us. I mean, this is an opportunity for 5 months to tap into some external expertise and really encourage you to do so. Applications must be submitted by the 16th of February. Actually, it's probably the 10th of February, we said. So as soon as possible, do that. And they will include profiles of the members of the core team, approval of the dean or management, and an overview of your entrepreneurship activities. The application is online, so you can go to the website, and you also have a little flyer there, if all is well, with some more information about that. And that concludes the Masterclass Series announcement and the 2 inspirational talks. And we have some time for Q&A, so if there's any questions now, we're happy to take them. Thank you.